So,
yeah.
the story of the new album, I guess, I feel like it doesn't really begin with you as much as it begins with meeting Paul Epworth and him saying, "Will you be my new Adele?"
Sort of, that's exactly it. That's funny, yeah. No, I mean, I knew him anyway. And we reacquainted ourselves, yeah. And maybe I'd sort of psychologically made him, in his tender state in Glastonbury, made him ask me the question that I wanted him to ask. And he sort of, he literally, in quite a cheesy way, "We should make music." And I went, and I tried not to look too excited. I went, "No, maybe. Yes, maybe, yeah."
But had you kind of had any plans for the album before that meeting, or did you kind of always know you wanted the album to go in that more like, I guess like it's more like a high production-y, almost more pop leaning
Sort of pop,
album?
yeah. I mean, I think, you start to get rid of all these, like what's pop and not pop. It's just sort of functional and it's clear. I thought I definitely had to change something about what I was doing because it gets boring if you treading in the same sort of soil, the same kind of place, and you're feeding the same people and the same thing, and it just personally becomes a chore to sort of try and be creative like that. So I think it was more, whether the music's different, it was better that I just had someone quite muscular, not in a manly way, but just in a bossy way, muscular plan-making person that just went, "We're going this way." And I went, "Okay, this is so exciting." And I sort of followed him, really. And I think by experience and everything else, and I don't think he really does anything unless he can not dominate, but just sort of do things in the way he wants to do them. Obviously, we were never going to add to his Porsche collection, you know what I mean? It wasn't going to improve much in that sense.
You never know.
Well, you never know, but not initially. It might eventually show many rewards, but it wasn't that what he didn't sniff financial, And I think he thought that we were shop soiled enough for it to be interesting for him, and that he could, if that makes any sense, what I just said.
No, it does.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But for you, I guess moving to someone where, like you say, he likes to lead, was there a period of adapting to how he worked, or how did that look in comparison to making the other albums? Had you been more of the leader on those other projects?
Yeah, I'm a sort of flappy, bossy dude, neurotically circular, whatever the fucking word is, secular path. I tend to flap and say we're doing this and we're not doing this, and attempt to try and do a song in every version possible. You know what I mean? I'll take it in a bossa nova route and a reggae route, whatever. And that's just the way I attempt to exhaust my creative process. It has positive results. And he just simplifies it and takes it in the way that he thought was right. Basically, we had a discussion about just upping the tempo of what I did, because he saw us play live and he really enjoyed it, and he thought you could make this go much faster, which sort of naturally goes into dance realms.
I was wondering how the live experience affected it, because I saw you play at Tramlines the other week.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking about the Fred Again song in the way that, like, there's such a notable change in the way that the audience moves when that song kicks in. Was that kind of something you were thinking about? But like, how does that look from stage, I guess, when suddenly the crowd start dancing?
Oh, it's an impressive thing. It's quite, well, you have kind of a ponderous audience, and then you have more of an impulsive audience. And really, I think a magical gig for what we do is when you can sort of take them through stages where you get them and they think, and then they react, and then they dance, and all those sort of things. And if it all happens in a smoothly delivered sequence, then you're really winning. It's not always easy to do, but you got the right music that's easy to convey. The dance music has a sort of instant sonic gratifying thing, but it can't arrive from nowhere. You see what I mean? You sort of have to merge it in. You can't just suddenly leap from one type of music to another, because it's too much of a harsh transition. So it's a bit like, so that's what we were trying to work out, Paul and I, and he cleverly was just on top of that stuff. He just fucking loves it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I went, Daddy, yes, whatever. And I just I turned up in his studio and gave him loads of songs, like loads of things and bits, and I like crayon drawings. Well, I didn't have crayon drawings, but that sort of thing. And he just sort of went, yeah. He didn't even look at them, and I was like, so at first I was a little bit upset, and I thought, what? Well, an arsehole, you know what I mean? He's not really listening to moi, who I am, and he just proceeded to carry on doing what he just I sat behind him literally. He went on the computer and went, what about this? And made a song or a backing track or a suggestion of a song really quickly. And I go, not really. And then till he came across, in fact, the backing track to the beginnings of a song called Allbarone. And I went, yes, please, this one. And he sort of gave it to me as an MP3 form on my phone. And I ran off on my bike and then came back the next morning. I've got something. And he went, and I listened to it. He went, yeah, done. And I was like, wow. And so immediately you find a way of working. And it wasn't always that easy, but essentially I knew it was going to work.
Pretty fast paced.
And he was just the right person.
Yeah. Did that kind of always almost take the shape of him kind of crafting you, I guess, like an instrumental and then sending you off almost with like lyrical homework?
Yeah, almost. And because he's got so much experience, he's got this real humble, lovely, warm, patient stroke impatient thing, because he's a bit distracted as well in quite a good way. So you've only got a 3-hour window, and then you're at the dog groomers I think dog grooming sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Is that weird? Grooming a dog? All right, fair enough. I shouldn't over-question. When you over-question things, you can make them sound sinister.
Exactly.
And it wasn't sinister. Anyway, he's not grooming dogs. We'll move on from that. Now I'm stuck on it now.
He wasn't grooming dogs, but the dogs were being groomed.
By Paul Epworth. Fuck.
That's the news line. Paul Epworth grooms dogs.
Yeah, totally. And that's the end of our creative relationship. So he was grooming dogs and I was writing lyrics, and then he was quite good. And he was, he'd tick 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. It was quite that process, and we're going, that bit's good, and you got a good vibe. And I think for me, it was the first time I'd had someone so quite hands-on and strong and hyper-focused. He's got a hyper-focused thing. Plus, you're in this incredible place with glossy bowls of fruit and, regal falafels arriving. You can click your fingers and there's a different culinary option. And that makes it quite nice and LA-esque, in North London. So it was all a lovely experience. Short, quick, succinct, and I didn't really moan, which is quite unlike me.
I guess I can see where the initial, almost like, if there was like a struggle to adapt to it, would be, 'cause it's like when someone's there and willing to like take charge more and almost like take some things off your back, it's easy to be like, but like, no, when actually if you can surrender to it, like you said, there's like a lightness and an ease to it.
Well, I think there's a point where you need, you may have fatigued your process, and I'd fatigued my process. I knew that anyway. So I was about to pedal out the same old formula, which I might do on the next album. The same old, woo, here he comes, woo, up the shoulders. But
it'll be new again by the next
one. But it'll be new again, and everyone, and all the editors of the last magazines would have been renewed, and they would never heard it before or whatever. It would, It was the right time for someone to sort of show that, be quite forceful in that way. And I willingly submitted to it because I needed someone to do that, and allowed me to concentrate on what I'm quite good at. And we did it so quickly that we didn't have much time to deliberate, really.
Yeah, and I guess like that makes sense with the move into more kind of like dancey oriented sounds and like leaning further into that, because it's like the whole point of that is to not be so in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
To move more into the body.
Is that like when you suggested it's quite pop? Yeah, I think dance music is kind of naturally pop, and it's made on computers and it's quite high end in how to translate in clubs. But actually, I start to get rid of the prejudice about what indie or lo-fi and all that shit, because it doesn't really mean anything. It's just music.
Yeah,
and it translates and it's good. And I always slightly, in a positive way, ruin things anyway. So it always brings it back to a base point. You know what I mean?
But it's like that classic thing of, I think, people can get really snooty thinking that like pop or dance music or whatever like is like shallow and like doesn't have any substance, and like good music has like real depth and like intense references, and it's been really thought out, whereas like sometimes the best music is just something that's like quick, catchy, and like there, you know?
Exactly. And there's no rules to it, and it just works in a certain way. And I think it is quite lo-fi still, or whatever. I don't know if it matters. It just worked. It didn't feel alien. Do you know what I mean? You can do something different, and then you alienate yourself even from the, if you're trying to be too different. I remain the same anyway. It's just the music around me's changed a little bit.
And just felt like something you kind of needed.
Oh, I really needed it. Yeah, totally.
What was the context for like, what had been going on in your life that made you feel like you needed to like do something different?
We've just been playing for 2 years, and you're in, basically, if you're in the position I'm in, you sort of have to feed the cycle for it to perpetuate, for it to sort of have a semblance of success and a kind of living that you can make. Is that every year and a half or so you start making a new album to feed into this cycle, and you hope that people are willing enough to get behind that, and your record companies and management, all these people. And if you're someone like me that's not a great, very versatile singer, essentially talks, which I'm a bit tired by, the talking, especially talking man music. It's a bit of a tired genre. Ooh, Cockney, Mockney, whatever the fuck. It might have helped it exist a little bit, but I sort of want to strangle it now. Strangle it. I find it, if I hear more of it, not that I've changed that, but you just need to change. You need it to. Yeah. You need things to be different.
And like, obviously, you're still Baxter on this album, but when you were going into it, who was in your head that you kind of wanted to be instead? If you could have morphed into any other star or
I don't know if I'm trying. No, I don't know if I'm trying to be anyone else. I don't think. I sort of more was, I don't know. No, I can't be anyone but me. I'm, me, and I'm proud of that. I'm happy. I'm not like myself. Yeah. And I was just finding it lessened some of its familiarity, lessen the predictable, stuff, as much as you can.
Yeah. Do you think it was more a desire to almost just like you say, the monotony of like moving through album, tour, shows? Do you think it was kind of a desire to just like cut loose in a way, like looking for some, I guess, just fun?
You just got to open up your shows a bit. When you start, like, I did sonically, the Fred Again thing. It's quite a simple song, really. It sort of it liberated you a little bit on the live thing. You play it right at the end and people start going a bit more mental. And you want to sort of delve into that. And you want to build it in so you can really get them going. Because we kind of get them going anyway, usually, but sometimes you're a bit floored by what this tempo that you're using and stuff. You want to kind of go from, I sort of think of it, we start off a bit Vietnam and then we go into sort of Berkheim, Berlin. We end up there. And if you pace that journey properly and you don't allow people to question it, and you get them at the end. Well, we haven't done it yet because we haven't played this album properly, but I might theoretically we'll get them absolutely in the palm of your hand, and they'll be
the aim
destroyed.
Direct through the door club, heavy club.
You start off all a bit Red Mist, Vietnam, Tai Chi, and then you go more into sort of bare-chested Berkheim, urinating rave massacre.
I think that works, and I think that's what people want.
Yeah, totally. A urination massacre.
Yeah. Exactly.
Techno urination massacre. Yeah.
But I think like we are in a point where people do just want to have fun. It's like that kind of like end of the world party vibes with the entire world at the minute.
Oh yeah, because it's all on the brink and you can hear everything ticking away about to fall apart, and what they want is like the last days of something.
It's like, if anyone, where we all really want that end to happen is surely Berkheim,
being urinated on. I think maybe. Have you ever been there?
No, I've never tried, and I'd be scared that I wouldn't get in.
That's the trouble. That's not that what you might see in there might change your life forever, but more that you might not get in.
Yeah, the rejection.
Totally. I've been to some similar places, but they weren't quite as bad as that. But,
have you got in before?
I'd never tried, and I would be the same. I'd think twice in case.
I think that'd be a good music video.
Trying to get in?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. What if you did get in? It'd be the music video and end because no one else
Yeah, no cameras in the secret one.
Yeah.
It's like in a button of your shirt.
Inside your eyelid. Yeah.
It's like, that's not getting monetized on YouTube.
Yeah, no, true.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. I bet there is some.
But the desire to just kind of like...
Genitalia can.
Yeah. I don't think that's getting monetized. Or it would have to be heavily censored.
Yeah, they wouldn't show it on YouTube, I don't think.
It's just pixels at that point.
Totally. That'd be a good video. You can pretend anyway in pixels.
You do like an animation. I'm sure that would get around.
You got a wasp on you.
Oh my God.
It's a sort of...
I said earlier, I was like, I hope a wasp doesn't come up to me during this.
They're like kind of autumn wasps, so they're a bit like lazy and dangerous.
Oh God.
It'll be fine.
It's like a very specific like pub wasp.
Yeah, it's a sort of autumn, slightly dangerous wasp.
But back to the partying.
Right.
Just a little partying.
Yeah.
I was reading that you'd kind of mentioned a desire for this to almost be your brat, I guess, in a way.
I think someone else mentioned that at the time, but I did like all that. I did thought it was really, like people, my son and stuff listens to that album, and I thought it's brilliant. I did get it. I like the shape of all that stuff, more so than I would have done a while ago. It's quite, I mean, everyone wants the phenomenon of a wants that explosion of. But she's quite unique, isn't she? So,
and I guess just like the hedonism of it, and the same sort of like cutting loose from like feeling like something's a job, or you're moving through an industry, and like things feeling like you're just doing the same thing over and over.
Do you think she does that quite well? Do you like Brat?
I like Brat, but I wonder if she now feels like I've been doing this forever.
Yeah, I wonder if she does this thing where she turns it back on herself and sort of describes everything that's going on.
Yeah.
In a sort of, I'm on the edge. We're all partying. This is kind of fun, but it's fucked up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of children's pop music turned dark, and that's what makes it. Because you think all the kids are going to go and love it because it's kind of dibby, pippy poppy music in a brilliant way. But it's sort of talks about dark shit as well, and sort of everyday stuff. It's quite clever.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a conclusion or a question I was asking or anything, but what I was saying.
But I guess at the end of it, like, I guess it would be interesting if we sat down and had this conversation in 2 years' time when you've been touring this album.
What happens,
and playing this album, how you feel about the initial desire to make things kind of looser when you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that changes everything. It positively or negatively taints what you do, And usually, if you get it all right, and you can, I think it all comes down to a lot of what we do relies on how people react to it in a live way. We always struggle a little bit on radio and stuff because we're outside. I'm old and all that shit. It's not a natural path. But the thing where you really enjoy it is when it starts to work live, and then you can really convey it or whatever it is properly, if that makes
such a reliance on the audience to adopt it.
That's
properly.
what you want. Yeah, totally.
Was there any particular shows that you did kind of either during making the album or just before that you were almost picturing that kind of crowd of, I want things to be like this, I want it to feed into an atmosphere like this in a way?
Well, I mean, all the obvious places are always good, like Glastonbury and stuff was good. You walk out stage, there's a massive flag saying, Baxter, we love you, and all that sort of shit. And you go it's just a fucking good vibe. Loads of, and all round. And we did one in Paris, and just like the love that you get from audience. I sort of do out there anyway. It was like standing behind a big aeroplane, it's just like a huge amounts of emotion. Millions of them, loads of them. Lots and lots and lots of places.
Yeah.
But I think so. I can't think where the one better than the other. I mean, Glastonbury's always a special place to be, isn't it?
Like everyone there is there to have a good time.
Yeah, and you just get it, and you're just in the right time, in the right place, and people want to come and see you. It's just such a warm place,
and the surrender to it.
Yeah, they just went absolutely mental. I loved it.
What day did you play on?
And we had not a shitty slot, but we were playing on Sunday when the World Cup was on, or whatever it was the European Cup, the World Cup, and the England game, and I thought this is such a stitch up. But it was good.
I think a Sunday is a good time to play because by that point you're so kind of dazed.
Yeah, they're all in it. And maybe we were the right act for them and all that. It just felt good.
That kind of like partying at the end of the world feeling is very much a Sunday Glastonbury feeling.
And also I knew someone that had a house actually in the village or whatever, and she was a part of it all, and she was 85 and drove me around in her Morris Minor, and I could drive around in this car in Glastonbury. She had like an access all areas car from the late 60s or whatever. She was 85 and that was incredible. And she drove me to my stage and drove me there and she was just brilliant.
Anything weird backstage?
I saw nothing really weird backstage. A lot of nervous. Backstage where?
Just driving around Glastonbury.
No, it wasn't really backstage in that we just sort of could drive through the middle of it. She could just we'd wave. She lived next door to the Evises and we'd wave at them and all that. It was funny.
My friend this year at Glastonbury kind of discovered that if you have a bike and a high-vis vest, you can basically do what you want. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Just no one's stopping you. You look so official.
You can just bowl about, don't we?
Because it's like, who else would have a bike here?
Yeah, good point. We would.
Surely only staff.
Yeah, totally. Is that what she did?
Yeah.
All right, now you've ruined it.
Shouldn't
yeah, you have to edit that out. Yeah, redact that one.
Glastonbury email us
absolutely stitch up.
Don't say that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, ways to break in. But back to the point.
Yeah, come on. I'm sorry.
Kind of like we were saying about with Brat, the fact that actually like a lot of those songs are like, I don't know if I ever want children, or like, how do I feel about fame? Like, it's similar kind of on your album in that even though the tempo's been raised, it's still just as introspective in a lot of places as any other album.
I guess she's really good at generationally reflecting how people feel and think. So she's a genius. That's probably part of her success, apart from her singing and all that. She's on point about reflecting something quite dark and open about people are and hedonistic. So that's where she's dead on with that. That's why it really is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and I have no other choice but to be honest, and I don't have a real creative scope to talk about much else than a sort of vain micro-political view of the world. If you see what I mean? So I'm not able really to incorporate what's going on that effectively. I can't write it poetically or about tragic things and horrible things. It doesn't relate somehow. So it's very vain and it comes across a bit sort of browbeaten male narrative thing. And I guess I explore that a little bit, and I'm able to talk about it because I experience it. And I enjoy it, but it's quite vain. You know what I mean? But it's
being so hard on yourself.
No, I'm not being hard about. I'm using those experiences as a source of material to write about. But whether I'm being hard on myself, because it's not always bad experience, it's good and bad. But I just talk about it quite vividly, and then sort of abstractify it so it's not too obvious, or no one's accountable or legally involved, or likely to accuse me of. The accuse is the wrong word, but accuse me of writing about them in the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it can be quite cutting.
Yeah, cutting's always a sort of self-reflective thing anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll make sure that I'm a little bit involved in me being dissy. Not much, you know what I mean? Not much. I am more or less dissing someone else. I'm not really dissing myself.
But I like the kind of, especially on this album, I feel like there's a lot of quite specific, almost like very London-y caricatures.
Yeah.
And the way that I feel like London is quite just like a character on the album in a way, in the way that to psychoanalyze you a second, almost the way that the characters of London kind of become these different elements of yourself in a way.
Probably. I mean, I don't fucking you know when we talk about songwriting and all that stuff, and they go, well, this and that, and what does it mean? I go, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I sort of grab at stuff, and some of it's real and some of it's not. I mash it all up, and as long as no one gets too offended, I sort of censor it, and then I put it out there, and it's pretty fucking... I'm burping now because of the thing that's disgusting. You got a burp filter thing. As long as it's not offending someone I like, and it's not too obvious, because too obvious or too much detail in a song ruins the song anyway. It's not a documentary, you know what I mean? You're not really, it's abstract, it's a made-uppy Game of Thrones nonsense, you know what I mean? But it has to be informed by something real, or people don't connect with it. That's what I've discovered in my experience of songwriting. It has to sort of come from somewhere emotive and real, but you don't really, it doesn't have to have a logical sequence of you know, that doesn't have to completely make sense.
It's kind of like when you're at school and you're like analysing something in English, it's like what colour the curtains are and what that represents, and the whole thing of like, did the writer consider that? Actually think
no, they didn't.
That?
No, they probably, some psychopathic writers definitely did.
But I'm here like, so when you made those blue curtains, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, exactly.
And you just have to make up a
Well,
answer.
what's really interesting is you write songs like that, and depending on a lot of the time what country you're in, they'll totally interpret it in an entirely different way, and sometimes fantastically. France, for instance, a very philosophically overindulgent country, will go off and on, and you sort of have to agree because you don't know what they're talking about. And it sometimes makes you look a bit more intellectually robust than you really are.
You just pick the smartest thing that someone says about it. You're like, I did mean that. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm trying to think if I could come up with like a really smart story that you could tell about one of these songs.
Yeah, that's the trouble when people say, what's it about? And they are about things, and they are about sometimes positive and miserable situations, but they don't really, it doesn't really matter that they're real. Does that make sense?
And I guess with the process of making this album, with the element of speed that there was to writing the songs, I'd imagine you weren't really kind of like writing it and being like, And like, was there a lot of like editing, or were you just kind of like...
A little bit. Sometimes I just made it up on the spot, and I had Paul in his sort of rave shirt being almost too positive, going, yeah, and I'd say anything like frying pan and just, you know, like existential zebras, and he'd go, mental, brilliant. Well, it doesn't matter what I say to him, he thinks it's really good. I don't know. Yeah, not to dispel any kind of myth about, you know, great songwriting, but some of it comes from nowhere and some of it is really meaningful. I can't remember which bits. Sometimes the shit you say people really relate to, because it comes from somewhere a bit spontaneous, and that is valid, but at the time you're thinking, well, that's a load of bollocks. But they're the things that people go, oh my God, you said like, or like, you know, you are, I don't know. Like, for instance, I've got a song called Miami, and that's pretty much made up on the spot, right in front of the fucking microphone, and the amount of people that go, I really relate to the, whatever it is, you know, the fucking, I don't know why I'm saying that, but... Yeah. And
then you have to just kind of play along, like, thanks so much.
Well, I never usually this honest, but I am now.
I feel like that was a really meaningful song for you too.
Well, it becomes that way.
I guess, well, my final question was going to be... like a really hard-hitting one. And I guess this really relates to what we were just saying.
Yeah.
Which was going to be, have you ever actually been to an all-bar one?
Yep.
Thoughts, feelings?
Well, I did actually experience an all-bar one, and it was relevant to that song that I wrote. And it was kind of a bit of a miserable... Well, it went from potentially positive to vaguely miserable. And it's not really all-bar one's fault. It was a bit of a shithole anyway. It was in Covent Garden, it did rain, and I was on my own, and someone was packing up a chair, and I did have a sort of rain-filled pint.
Oh.
And it was quite late at night.
Ooh.
And so maybe all bar one could get down by my experience more than it. And they friendly to me because they know about the song, and they talk to me. They go, yeah, the bar staff love it. So I don't want to diss them too much because they're probably quite nice. But it was miserable, and it's a shithole. And
I guess the role of a great writer is to take an all-bar one and make it such a tragic setting, you know?
Well, I made it gave it some drama, I guess, yeah. I think, I don't know.
It's quite Shakespearean.
Do you think so?
I think so, yeah.
Well, there you are. I'll go with that.